Part 1. The First Arrivals, Polynesian Voyages, before 1300 AD. Before the tall sails of European ships ever touched the Pacific, there was already a tale of greatness being written across wind and wave. Around the 13th century, Polynesian navigators, guided by nothing but the stars, the sea, and centuries of oral wisdom, embarked on daring voyages in double-hulled canoes. From their ancestral homeland of Hawaii, they discovered a land of wild forests, giant birds, volcanic mountains, and untouched coastlines. They called it Aotearoa, the land of the long white cloud. These were the first Maori, and their arrival marked the beginning of a deep and spiritual connection with the land. They formed complex tribal societies, or iwi, established sacred relationships with nature, and wove mythology into every river, mountain, and tree. For centuries, New Zealand would remain isolated, its people shaping their own distinct world, untouched by the rest of humanity. Part 2. European Discovery, from Abel Tasman to James Cook, 1642 to 1770. In 1642, Dutch explorer Abel Tasman became the first European to sight New Zealand. His arrival, however, was brief and bloody. His crew clashed with the Maori in Golden Bay, forcing him to sail away. It wasn't until 127 years later, in 1769, that British explorer Captain James Cook arrived aboard the HMS Endeavour. Cook circumnavigated both islands, charted the coastline with astonishing precision, and recorded detailed observations of the Maori and their customs. Cook's journals would ignite European interest, paving the way for settlers, whalers, and missionaries. But these encounters also brought diseases, weapons, and foreign ideologies that would gradually change the face of Maori life. The seeds of colonization had been sown. Part 3. Contact and Conflict, Traders, Muskets, and Missionaries, 1770s, 1830s. Over the next decades, New Zealand became a magnet for European traders, whalers, and sealers. Port towns like Kororareka and now Russell buzzed with cross-cultural trade. Europeans brought metal, alcohol, and most dangerously, muskets. Maori tribes eager for military advantage entered into trade relationships, sparking the Musket Wars, a period of brutal intertribal warfare from the early 1800s to the 1830s. Tens of thousands perished, and tribal boundaries were redrawn in blood. Simultaneously, Christian missionaries arrived, determined to convert Maori to Christianity. Some brought education and printing presses, others condemned traditional beliefs. Maori society was now locked in a whirlwind of transformation, exposed to new tools, new gods, and new threats. Part 4. The Treaty of Waitangi, Hope and Betrayal, 1840. By 1840, the British sought to formalize their influence in New Zealand. On February 6, the Treaty of Waitangi was signed between representatives of the British Crown and over 500 Maori chiefs. In the English version, Maori ceded sovereignty in exchange for protection and guaranteed land rights. But in the Maori version, the word used kawanatanga meant governance, not absolute rule. This crucial mistranslation laid the foundation for future conflict. The treaty was meant to be a pact of partnership, but would become a source of deep division. As British settlers flooded in, land disputes escalated, and the promises of the treaty began to crumble. Part 5. War and Land Loss, The Price of Resistance, 1840s, 1870s. When Maori communities resisted land sales and colonial expansion, the government responded with force. From the 1840s through the 1870s, a series of bloody conflicts erupted, collectively known as the New Zealand Wars. Maori warriors defended their lands with courage and advanced fortifications known as pa, but faced overwhelming numbers and superior weaponry. In the aftermath, the British government confiscated over 3 million acres of Maori land. Entire communities were displaced. Cultural identity was suppressed. The dream of a shared nation had given way to systematic colonization. Yet even in defeat, Maori preserved their stories, language, and will to survive, planting the seeds for future revival. Part 6. Settlers and Identity, Forging a New Dominion, 1870s, 1930s. With Maori resistance largely subdued, European settlers expanded rapidly across New Zealand. Cities grew, farms flourished, and railroads stretched across both islands. By the early 20th century, New Zealand was asserting itself as a proud member of the British Empire. It sent soldiers to fight in World War I, adopted British customs, and built institutions reflecting colonial ideals. But not all voices were silenced. A new generation of Maori leaders began organizing, demanding land restitution, political rights, and respect. Though still marginalized, Maori culture remained resilient beneath the veneer of colonial dominance. Part 7. Rebirth and Reconciliation, toward a bicultural nation, 1940s today. After World War II, New Zealand entered a new era. Economic reforms, urbanization, and migration transformed its society. But most crucially, the Maori cultural renaissance gained momentum. In the 1970s and 80s, protests erupted demanding justice for broken treaty promises. The government responded with the Waitangi Tribunal, created to investigate historic grievances. Maori language, once banned in schools, was revitalized. Today, New Zealand is seen as a global model for bicultural coexistence. The challenges remain. From haka on the rugby field to Maori designs on national symbols, Aotearoa is redefining what it means to be a nation born of two worlds, one rooted in ancient Pacific traditions, the other in colonial legacy.